A mother embraces her dead baby, and a miracle happens. Doctors were hopeless. Some things can't be explained by conventional science and make you believe that magic really does exist. Kate experienced a true miracle when she hugged what everyone thought was her dead baby. Although the doctor said there was no chance, fate had something else in mind for this mother. Kate and her husband David were thrilled when they found out they were having twins. Knowing you're pregnant is a happy event in most circumstances, and finding out it's two babies means double the fun, and even more so for this Australian couple who had been trying for more than 3 years. Three years is a long time to look forward to something, and seeing the positive pregnancy test result was like Christmas came early for them. Everything seemed to be going well with the pregnancy, and they couldn't wait to meet their babies. But then something happened, and at 26 weeks, Kate was told she was going into premature labor. It was the scariest thing that had ever happened to her, and she knew that anything could happen during a preterm labor like that. Normally, babies have between 38 and 40 weeks in the womb to grow and get stronger, but her children were now coming out more than 12 weeks early. The delivery happened, and Kate noticed that right after the babies came out, there was a bit of confusion in the room. Often with preemies, it can be unclear what sex they are, as they are not yet fully developed. First, the doctor said it was 2 children, and then that it was a boy and a girl, but suddenly, all the joy disappeared. Within a crowded space, there were at least 20 specialists. There was a deafening silence, and Kate noticed that the dynamics and mood had changed. What was going on? The chief medical officer then turned to Kate and asked if she had already chosen a name for her son. "Yes," Kate replied. "His name is Jamie." And then the most unthinkable happened. The doctor sat on the edge of Kate's bed, looked her in the eyes and said, "Jamie didn't survive. We lost him." It turned out that they had spent 20 minutes trying to resuscitate Jamie, but he had been born with problems and simply wasn't breathing. While Emily was going strong and had immediately let out a loud scream, Jamie had remained silent. They thought he hadn't made it and that nothing could help this little baby anymore. The news was a huge blow to Kate and David. This was not something they had even considered as a possibility. This was not supposed to happen. They had longed so much to be parents. They had been trying for years, and now that the time was supposed to have come, it all came crashing down. Kate was absolutely devastated, and David collapsed next to her. In this moment of heartbreaking grief, Kate picked up the still gasping baby in the doctor's hands and took Jamie in her arms. He was really tiny, and it was clear that he still needed to be in her womb to continue to develop. The outside world had proved too hard for him. She unwrapped him from his blanket and pressed his frail body against her bare skin, as if she wanted to take him back inside her and protect him from harm. She ordered David to undress as well and wrap his warm body with Jamie's and lay down next to them. He then asked everyone else to leave the room and leave them alone for a while. Jamie was so cold, and Kate just wanted to warm him up and have a moment together. She wanted him so warm and alive, it hurt. So she hugged him skin to skin with David next to her. She positioned Jamie so that his little ear would be on her chest, close to her heart, and he could hear the beating. She just cried and cried, shedding tears as if it was the last thing she would ever do. Seriously, you must be an insensitive zombie or maybe Mr. Spock from Star Trek if this image doesn't give you goosebumps. What an emotional moment that must have been. You can almost touch Kate and David's pain. Kate refused to accept that Jamie was gone and talked to him as if he was still there. Through tears, he was told that he had a sister named Emily and that everything was going to be okay. She told him that she had big plans for him, for his life, and made him many promises. She described the rest of his family, his aunts and uncles, grandparents, cousins, and the world he was born into. Kate was still crying, holding her son, feeling David by her side, and the minutes were turning into hours as the time passed. Then, the most amazing thing happened. Her cold, lifeless baby began to move. None of the doctors had given Jamie any chance, but there he was, wiggling in his mother's warm embrace. Kate was startled, looked down, and wondered what the hell was going on. She had prayed hard for this, called the midwives back and told them, "Look, he's moving, he's breathing." But they replied that Jamie was dying, that these were his last shakes, and she had to say goodbye. Kate refused to let go and kept holding him against her skin, and suddenly Jamie opened his eyes and groped for David's finger. His fingers were tiny, not even covering the tip of David's finger, but he held on and laid his head on his mother's chest and just looked at them. The nurses began to realize that this little guy still had some life left in him, and that basically a miracle had occurred. Little Jamie had come back to life, and Kate realized it was because they had hugged him and given him their body heat. It was truly amazing, and the hug didn't stop there. She continued to hug her little boy, realizing that it had been that skin-to-skin contact that had saved her son's life. Jamie pulled through and was soon able to return home along with his sister Emily. Kate and David still couldn't believe it. It had been a huge emotional roller coaster, but little by little, they began to realize that their biggest dream had come true. They were now the proud parents of 2 beautiful children. Kate still can't believe her luck, even now, and hugs her children every chance she gets. 5 years later, the twins were thriving and have welcomed their baby brother. Charlie was surprised when he learned that his older brother, Jamie, was not breathing at birth and tells everyone he knows. He said, "When I was born, I was fat and the twins were skinny. Jamie was dead too, but now he's alive." Emily was also surprised to learn that she might have to go through life without Jamie by her side. The bond between siblings is always strong, and between twins it is much more so. Their mother always felt Jamie was an extension of herself, rather than a separate person, and loved him dearly. When she was told this, she burst into tears and hugged her brother tightly. For David and Kate, their children mean the world, and they have been trying to make their miracle known ever since. They know that the opposite could have happened to Jamie, and that if Kate hadn't simply followed instinct, Jamie wouldn't have made it. But it wasn't something that just worked for them. Kate firmly believed that it could also help other babies being born, and not just preemies. All babies can benefit from a loving touch, and it's not just a mother's intuition. Experts around the world agree that skin-to-skin contact is like a healing balm for newborns. Proximity to their parents' bodies regulates the heartbeat and helps tiny humans adapt to their new environment. Childbirth can be a stressful event for a baby, and the mere fact of being held by their parents is the most reassuring thing that can happen to them. It is not for nothing that UNICEF has made skin-to-skin contact a key part of its baby-friendly initiative. They say, "We know that babies who have spent an hour in skin-to-skin contact are less stressed after the birth experience. This means that their breathing and heart rate are more stable. They cry less, and when they start feeding, they digest their food better." Scientists don't yet know why it works this way, but it's clear that it does. To help other families, Kate and David have created an online community called Jamie's Gift, through which they raise funds for the America Babies Foundation, an organization that supports premature and sick newborns. I think it's great what they are doing, and at the end of the day, any scientific research will not make me think that what happened to Jamie is any less miraculous. These hugs are magical, and obviously can save lives. Doesn't this make you think of hugging any differently? I want to hug someone right now, and I intend to do it even more often now, if it's safe inside my bubble, of course. Because knowing that human contact can be so healing, It's more frustrating in times like this. Hopefully, everything will be back to normal soon, and we can embrace each other. Give this video a like, which is the YouTube equivalent of a hug, of course, and let us know in the comments who you'd like to hug most of all. See you soon!